It's a nice sunny one here in South Wales, if you're joining us from there, or if you're joining us from the southwest, hopefully it's the same for you. I think we're due rain again tonight, just for no change there from what we've had recently, but at least a little dry spell, which is great and puts a smile on all our faces. You've probably all seen positive news for the travel industry announced by Grant Shapps last Friday. So finally, taking a holiday is not illegal. So that's always a plus for us all. The number of destinations we've got, you probably saw last week, is quite small, but we're quite excited as an industry to see things quietly returning over the course of the summer, with more announcements announcing new green destinations coming soon. So it's a good time, really, and we're optimistic for an exciting summer. You've joined this morning to hear about iconic rail journeys. We're joined this morning by Michelle from Titan, waving to us there. And it's interesting, Titan have long been a partner of ours and a very, very well recognised and well respected travel organisation. And what they've done is basically, I think Michelle, I won't steal her thunder, but simply what they've done is react to the demand from you, the customers, in terms of what people are wanting to do. And rail journeys is very, very much on the up, and therefore Titan are reacting and putting more holidays on to cater for you, the customer, which is brilliant news, particularly when it's coming from such a reputable supplier like Titan. And so Michelle's going to talk about all that's new with the iconic rail journeys, and particularly zone in on some of them. So I'm sure you'll enjoy it this morning. And it's always good when we hear from Michelle, because she's always full of bounce and bubble. So looking forward to your presentation this morning, Michelle. So I will pass it over to you.
Oh, super. Well, lovely to see everybody this morning. I'm going to do some wonderful wizardry technical stuff, so bear with me if it doesn't work, because I'm really good at this. So I'm going to share my screen, so I've got a lovely presentation to talk you all through today. So you should all have a lovely big screen saying Titan with a lovely elephant on. If somebody could give me a nod to say that you can see that.
Working perfectly, Michelle.
Yay, good. So we're on it. Right, okay. So let's get started with that then. So yes, welcome to Titan. I am Michelle. I cover the southwest and the entirety of Wales now for Titan Travel, and I look after all the trade accounts. My most favourite and my most important is Miles Morgan. We've worked really well with those now for a number of years, and they are our top performing agents. So we're always delighted when we're offered these opportunities to speak to their clients. So why escorted touring? So with a tour, you've got that ready-made itinerary, and it's been carefully put together by people that really know the destination. They know what to see, what to skip. They know the routes to take, the hotels to stay in, and they kind of, if you're trying to organise this on yourself, it can be quite complex and time consuming and a little bit overwhelming. We take all that stress out for you. But tours aren't about passive sightseeing anymore. No more sitting on a coach, watching the world go by. It's about immersing yourself in a destination. So people want to taste things, they want to make and do things, they want very much hands-on experiences. So we do wine tastings, cooking classes, there's opportunities to spend a morning on a rural farm in Vietnam on one of our tours, or you can have family coffee with a local family in Ethiopia. So lots of really hands-on stuff these days with touring. That's not just relevant for touring, it's happening on river cruises, on rail holidays, and on our small group tours particularly. You also get a lot of reassurance with a tour, so you can go off the beaten track but still know that you're travelling with others. You have got the tour managers on hand 24 hours a day should anything happen. All the language barriers, parking problems, navigating unfamiliar roads, knowing when to visit certain sites at the best times, all done in advance for you, all tickets bought in advance as well. So there's no surprise that touring really is the most popular option now, and certainly for us solo travellers, it's been an ever-growing market. You get the security and reassurance that people are travelling with like-minded people, and you've got that ready-made group of travel companions. And actually for our solo campers, this is the thing that they always say is the highest for them. So the social aspect is what our customers tell us is the most important moment. So that's why we now use perfect moments shared as our strapline, because our customers tell us it's these moments of an evening, sharing stories, swapping photos, that really adds to their holiday. So why Titan? We've got a multitude of awards. There you go, it's a good word, isn't it? And over 40 years experience to our name. We're the Escorted Tours specialist, and we're determined to create and offer the very best in escorted tours while keeping our customers safe, happy and well. So our early bird price promises means that you'll be automatically passed on any difference if we lower the price of your holiday after you've booked. So those early bookings really are the most important. We are going to ensure that you have a clean environment throughout, following all the current social distancing guidelines and prioritising your health and well-being. And we're continuing to monitor the situation so that you have a worry-free holiday. So we introduced our Titans Protection Promise. So this is hassle-free booking, unlimited changes. So if you book a holiday with us through Miles Morgan, we want to make sure that you do so with confidence. So we introduced the flexi deposit. So this allows you to make unlimited changes to your holiday up until the final payment with no extra fees or charges for admin. If we have to cancel your holiday, you can switch to another date or a different tour, and prices then will be confirmed at the time of booking, or you can opt for a full cash refund within 14 days. No questions asked, no credit notes, and all guaranteed without an add-on. Other things on the coaches and excursions and on rail, all the drivers are going to be fully trained to ensure that they follow the strict hygiene procedures. Hand sanitizer is going to be provided. It must be used before entering or leaving the coach. You may need to wear a face covering depending on when you travel and the destination. We may well restrict the seat rotation policy, so you'll be assigned a seat. All the coaches are going to be rigorously cleaned, and before each journey, all the touch points frequently sanitised multiple times a day, so handrails, tables and the doors. And where possible, fresh air will circulate the coach as frequently as possible and ensure that all the air filters are checked, cleaned and replaced regularly. We've also got personal audio equipment on many of the tours now. Now these will be sanitised in between every use, but also this is going to allow us to offer you the option to socially distance safely and still hear what's going on from the tour manager and not feel distanced from that. So Titan offer a huge range of tours. We've got over 200 tours in the brochure this year for 2021 and 22. So whether it's an escorted tour, a stay and explore holiday, an ocean cruise, a river cruise, a solo holiday, a small group tour, we've got you covered. But today I'm talking about rail holidays, and this really is a passion. I'm a proper rail geek. I've been very fortunate to travel on some amazing trains across the world myself. And I'm going to talk about one of my favourites now, first of all, and I've got a little video to play you.
From rushing rivers and magnificent canyons to majestic mountains, our Rocky Mountaineer journey puts you in the heart of Western Canada, with breathtaking views right from our glass dome coaches. Traveling through the same region as some of the earliest pioneers, this was all made possible by the Canadian Railroad that was built in 1885. The railroad has always been more than just a mode of transportation. It is an important part of history that united Canada from east to west. Not only does the rugged landscape in Western Canada and Canadian Rockies make for stunning scenery, it also made it nearly impossible to build a railroad. The mountainous tracks and bridges that run through Canada's West were an engineering marvel from their time. These impressive feats that united the country over 130 years ago allow for the most magical scenic experiences in Western Canada today. One of which is Rogers Pass, that sees nearly 12 meters of snow each year. To protect the trains and tracks from snow, the engineers had to get creative. 31 snow sheds were built, as well as the Canal Tunnel, which was the longest rail tunnel on the continent at the time, and the longest tunnel the train will travel through today. Another historic feat is the famous Stony Creek Bridge. Built in 1885, it was the highest wooden railway bridge in the world at time of construction. And in 1893, the bridge was rebuilt out of steel, and at 90 meters above the creek is the highest any bridge or train will cross. One of the most remarkable parts of our train journey are the spiral tunnels. To ascend over 300 meters through just 16 kilometers of narrow valleys and high mountains, engineers use spirals to lessen the railway grade, allowing the trains to gain elevation over a short distance. Considered to be one of the most ambitious tunnel projects ever attempted, our train is the only regularly scheduled passenger service to travel through these tunnels. We hope you enjoyed hearing about these extraordinary engineering achievements that made traveling through Western Canada and the Canadian Rockies possible, and hope you'll join us again as we explore more of the history and regions we travel.
So does that make you want to hop on board? So you might want to go all out on this one, a 17-day world's most spectacular rail journey, or a little bit shorter, our 15-day Canadian Rockies Grand Circle. So we offer a number of different tours that include journeys on the Rocky Mountaineer, and there's sure to be an itinerary that will take your fancy. Or you can expand your Canadian adventure and go even further on our Trans-Canadian Rail Odyssey. And this features the Via Rails the Canadian too, taking you all the way from Toronto on the east coast to Jasper in the Rockies. But my most favourite tour, and by far the most popular tour with Titan for Rocky Mountaineer, is the Deluxe Alaskan Voyage. So this pairs the famous Rocky Mountaineer and an Alaskan cruise. And on this incredible cruise and tour holiday, magnificent mountains, lakes, national parks fill the first few days in Banff and Jasper. And the iconic Rocky Mountaineer Railway transports you through forested valleys and over mountain passes, and then a week-long cruise to Alaska to spot harbour seals, humpback whales, swooning eagles, and more as you sail past the monumental glaciers and snow-dusted mountains of the Alaskan fjords. Finally, we wrap up in Vancouver, one of the most livable cities in the world. This is an incredible tour, 18 days. It's got 5 excursions and visits included. It's 9 nights in hotels, 7 nights on cruise, and includes 26 meals. So I think you can agree, although a pricey tour, it's got so much included. It really is a value for money trip. And so many people actually repeat this trip year on year. It's amazing to me that people go back and do the same tour, but it's such a popular one. But Rocky Mountaineer have done something new. So although you may know them for their stunning Western Canada trips, here's something new. So that's just a quick latest one, but this is completely new for 2022. Rocky Mountaineer Adventure and the Great USA National Parks. 13-day tour. It's from 3699 and it will be departing between May and September 2022. So it's a fantastic tour starting in Denver, finishing in Las Vegas. It includes the scenic trail journey on the Rocky Mountaineer. It's our gateway into some of the most iconic national parks. The tour covers 4 states, Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and Nevada. Highlights include a 2-night stay in Denver, Colorado with the city tour and time to explore the city. You get 2 days traveling on board the Rocky Mountaineer, and that goes via Glenwood, and you get a 1-night stay there. Now, there are no other USA tours with Titan that feature a trail and journey. So if the trains are your thing and it's the USA you want to visit, this is the tour for you. I say the fact that you get to also do 4 of Utah's most well-known national parks. You do Arches, Canyonlands, Bryce Canyon, and Zion. And you get a full-day visit to the Grand Canyon National Park with a 1-whale train journey in and out of the park. At the end, it finishes with a 2-night stay in Vegas, where you get an orientation tour, which I've got to say, for anyone that's been to Vegas, I think the orientation tour really is a must. And then you get some tour. So we're going to say that you're going to be plenty of sort of layers. Cardi's for nighttime because it may well be cold in the months that we operate, but definitely warm clothes for the daytime. Possibly a rain max. So it's a really interesting one where you're visiting such a wide space here. You may also want to extend this trip. So there is the option to extend in Las Vegas at the end, spend a little bit more time there. There's also the option to upgrade to the silver leaf on the Rocky Mountaineer. There isn't any gold leaf on this trip. Another video for you now. Now, this is Rovers Rail, the pride of Africa. So imagine taking a leisurely soak in a roll-top bath as you watch the majestic African landscape slide past. I'm sold at that point. But imagine sinking into the wingtip chair in a chair as you wait for the gong that announces that dinner is served. Imagine sipping your morning coffee in the beautiful Victorian dining car as you head towards the next amazing destination. Absolutely unforgettable. There are plenty of reasons why Rovers Rail's Pride of Africa is the so-called most luxurious train in the world. And this is next level comfort and elegance, recalling a bygone era when travel really was this sophisticated and relaxed. I've got to say, I was sold just on that blurb reading it, but this video really does bring to life what Rovers Rail is all about. I don't know about you, but doesn't that just look amazing? And really is on my bucket list. It's one I've not done yet, but I cannot wait to give it a go. So 2 nights on board the Pride of Africa is part of our epic 17-day Tracks of Africa tour. So as you travel through South Africa, Zambia and Botswana, you'll be guided through highlights like the beautiful garden route, Cape Town and Table Mountain, an exhilarating African safari and the spectacular Victoria Falls known as the Smoke That Thunders. But South Africa has a lot to offer, so before boarding the train, we'll be spending 7 days exploring the south coast, Port Elizabeth, Tutankhamun National Park and Knysna Lagoon, and Cape Town really is the highlight here. This tour, we've got 12 nights in hotels, 2 nights on board the Rovers Rail, and there's 2 night flights with that one. Again, the tour is really inclusive. You've got 26 meals over the 17 days and 11 excursions included on this tour, so an absolutely fantastic one. So moving slightly further afield, this one I have had the pleasure of doing. Footsteps of the Incas was my last long haul tour before COVID hit, and it really did blow me away. An amazing, amazing trip. But the Titicaca train is so far removed, in every sense of the word, from your average train journey. A trip on Peru's Titicaca train is incomparable. Traveling from the Altiplano to the Andean peaks, it's one of the highest railway routes in the world. It reaches altitudes of more than 4,300 meters. It's got the classic midnight blue and cream livery, and it hints at the stylish decor inside, dark wood paneling, linen dress tables, brass details inspired by the Pullman carriages of the 1920s. And when you want to really immerse yourself, there's even an open deck so you can breathe in that crisp mountain air. So again, if it makes you want to hop on board, you can enjoy a night on board the Titicaca train as part of our 14-day Footsteps of the Incas tour. You board the train at Puno on the shores of Lake Titicaca, and then you'll climb past villages and grasslands to Larea, the highest point of the journey. And then it's on towards the vibrant Cusco, my favourite, I've got to say, and then once capital of the Inca Empire. This amazing tour also features visits to Machu Picchu, Peru's most famous and arguably most breathtaking site. And I've got to say, for anyone that's been, they'll absolutely agree with me, as you walk up and you see that Machu Picchu open in front of you, it's just awe-inspiring. It's like every photo, every video you've ever seen, it's there in full Technicolor and looks just like it should. So again, this tour, 11 nights in hotels, you've got 2 night flights, 17 meals included. So again, breakfast every day, most lunches, and then you've got 1 dinner included here. But eating out is fantastic in Peru. Lots of really good food, lots of great choices around the hotels that we stay in as well. And again, 12 excursions included on this. So you've pretty much got something included to do every day. But the pace of this tour is fantastic. What I loved is that you had some great travel days where the journey was the experience itself, and other days where you had time to just sort of explore and unwind and enjoy the surroundings. My absolute favourite day on this was something I wasn't expecting. It was a Colca Canyon. No, I'd never heard of Colca Canyon before I went. I didn't do enough research. Colca Canyon is as deep as it is overtowered by the volcano that overstands it. Absolutely spectacular, and I was lucky enough to watch the condors soar out on thermals there. Absolutely amazing experience, and something that I will never ever forget. We can't talk about trains though and not mention the Shinkansen bullet trains. So in a complete contrast to the leisurely pace and nostalgic luxury of some of the other great journeys I've already talked about, Japan's bullet train offers slickness, speed and modern efficiency. Running at speeds of up to 320 kilometers an hour, the Shinkansen connects most of the country's main cities. The trains generally depart within seconds of their allotted departure time, which is quite a rare treat for commuters, certainly from certain UK towns, certainly for me on Sunday. And the trains themselves look incredibly futuristic. They've got a very sleek and striking profile that hints at the high speeds they reach. And one of the destinations that they serve is Kyoto. Now, it's a city of historic temples, shrines, and beautiful gardens, but it's also a wonderful example of that Japanese juxtaposition of the high-tech efficiency and the ancient traditions. So again, hop on board on this one on our 14-day Essence of Japan tour. Now, this tour includes Tokyo, Mount Fuji, Hiroshima, Kyoto, and you do the tea ceremonies, temples, walking tours, plus you get 3 trips on the bullet train on this tour. So an absolutely fantastic one. Biggest problem with the Essence of Japan tour is making the decision. Do you want to travel in spring for the cherry blossoms and the hydrangeas, or do you want to go in autumn when the maple trees are in a blaze of fiery red and oranges? I'm not sure. I think cherry blossoms, but I do love the maple season. Not sure on that one. Now, this tour has 17 excursions and visits included. You've got 12 nights in hotel, 1 night in flight, and 13 meals included on this one. It's just a lunch and breakfast every day. Moving on to the next one. Oh, wonders of computers is doing something weird. Give me 2 steps. So, Switzerland's spectacular rail journeys. Now, I'm lucky enough to know that some of our lovely Miles Morgan staff have actually been on this tour. And I'm sure that if you want some personal first-hand experience, they'd be happy to share it with you. But when you think of an express train ride, an image that probably doesn't spring immediately to mind is the gentle journey through snow-covered peaks, seen through the panoramic windows. So the Bonnier Express and the Glacier Express are a bit of a revelation. They wind their way through the magnificent Swiss Alps. They offer panorama after panorama of both an absolute joy to travel on. The Bonnier Express crosses borders and cultures. It takes you from Chur or St. Moritz in Switzerland all the way down to Turano in Italy. The Glacier Express takes you on a 7-hour journey between the Swiss resorts of St. Moritz and Zermatt. Now, both railway lines are seriously impressive feats of engineering. The Bonnier Express passes over 196 bridges and climbs the incredible spiral viaduct, which was actually built to limit the railway's incline to just 7%. The Glacier Express crosses a remarkable 291 bridges, and its fitting glacial pace only adds to the enjoyment of the spectacular views. So you can hop on board both of these trains in one tour with our Switzerland's spectacular railway journeys. Now, this is a stunning one. It's 7 nights based in one hotel. It's a beautiful 5-star hotel in Davos. It's one of the most famous hotels there. And what I love about this tour is that you're actually not touring. You can unpack your bags for 7 whole nights and really enjoy the area. But you get a Davos Clusters premium card included. So you get free train travel and a reduced rate on all the cable car trips on your free days there. So you can really enjoy the area. You get the Bonnier Express scenic day trip into Italy, the Glacier train journey through the high Alps up to Andermatt, and that's 91 tunnels and 291 bridges on that one journey. You've also got trips to Liechtenstein and a cruise on Lake Constance included on this one. We do also do a solo exclusive tour on this one. There's a couple of dates where it's solos only. So if that's your option, it's there as well. So talking about trains, there's one name that immediately comes up all the images of golden age of rail travel, and it's the Orient Express. Now, today you can sample a taste of the glamour and the luxury of the train's heyday aboard the Venos Simplon Orient Express. The sumptuous Art Deco interior is like a film set with exquisite features like lilac glass inlays and polished cherry wood panelling. And as you make your way to your luxurious cabin, it's easy to imagine yourself as a character in a 1930s romance. So we haven't got our dates confirmed for this tour yet. We are just still waiting on the 2022 dates. But what I can tell you is this is an amazing tour. We travel from London to Venice aboard the Venice Simplon Orient Express, followed by a 2-night stay in Venice, and then a 4-night stay in Tuscany. It includes 14 meals and 5 excursions, and I'm hoping that the dates are going to be out for that roughly by the end of next week, and I'll update Miles Morgan with that as soon as it's live. But I just think that you can't talk about trains and not talk about the Orient Express. It's an absolutely amazing trip, and it's one that does sell out year after year after year. But we do have several options for European trains, and we have a couple of train holidays where actually train isn't the main focus, but just a day out, but doesn't make these journeys any less spectacular. So I picked 2 of my favourites for you. So you've got Hidden Treasures of Sardinia. Now this is an 8-day tour. Again, it's a stay and explore, so you're all in one location. But on day 8, we travel on board the Green Train. Now, this is a spectacular train. It's stunning scenery that you won't get the same experience by coach as you travel through the wonderful mountains and valleys, across viaducts, and into some really small stations. And in fact, we even include a picnic lunch on board on that train. So it's a really lovely day in a much wider, bigger tour. The second one is the scenic Lake Orta, and I think you can't talk about this without the day out into Switzerland and Zermatt. And they've taken the Matterhorn horde on the Gorgonat train. Now this is stunning glacial views and really beautiful scenery, and the final stretch is actually on Cog Railway up to view the glacier. Now these are both really lovely tours. They're great value for money. You've got Sardinia's 9 days from 1,699, and Scenic Lake Orta is 8 days from just 1,499. And again, we have some fabulous solo prices on that. Scenic Lake Orta has a couple of dates with 0 single supplement. If you really want to stay closer to home, but you still love rail, then we have a number of our UK breaks featuring rail trips. So we've got Historic Yorkshire, that takes me back to my childhood holidays, or our North Wales short break. So we base ourselves in Carmarthen on this one. Now that's home to the immense 13th century castle. And then we'll tour the colourful Italianate seaside village of Portmeirion. And then we ride the scenic Snowdon Mountain Railway. Now, this is amazing. I've done this numerous times when I was a kid, and I absolutely love it. It blows me away every time. So you ride the train up to the summit of the highest mountain in Wales, and it's often described as one of the most unique and wonderful rail journeys in the world. We've got it on our doorstep. So anyone that hasn't done this journey, I'd say definitely get it done. Whether you go to Wales for a day trip because you're local, or whether you're doing our wonderful 4-night break with this one. It's 4 nights in a hotel. 8 meals included, so it's breakfast and evening meal every day on this tour. And then you get the 3 excursions. So the Portmeirion tour, you get to go to Bodnant Gardens and the Snowdon Mountain Railway and Penryn Castle. I absolutely love this tour. I think it's a fabulous little short break. Great at the moment with obviously current travel restrictions. For those people that aren't confident to travel abroad, the UK trips with Titan are fabulous. And they all still include that VIP door-to-door pickup. So I'm really, really excited to share something really new with you today. On Monday, Titan launched an entirely new product, and it's called our Cruise and Tour Holidays. And I got really excited by this because these are some fabulous itineraries, and we've got journeys in South Africa and you've got Canadian trips. But I was delighted when I knew I was going to be talking about rail today to discover that our Norway trip is cruise, tour and railway. Starts travelling in summer 2022. We've got dates in June and July. And you are going to see the very best of Norway, mountains and fjords by land, rail and sea. You're going to be travelling on the breathtaking Flom Railway, one of the most stunning train journeys in the world. And I keep saying this because they all claim to be the most stunning, but actually I can't make a decision as to which one is my favourite. You're going to visit some of Norway's most beautiful fjord scenery by coach from Bergen to Alaskan. Then you're going to travel on the Roma Railway, one of Norway's wildest and most beautiful train journeys. Travel on the Eagle Road at 2,030 foot above sea level with breathtaking views over the UNESCO listed Garanger Grain Ford, and breakfast and dinners throughout on that. Then you're going to board a cruise ship and you'll be crossing by sea into the Arctic Circle with a chance to visit one of the most northern points in Europe, the North Cape at the top of the world, where the Atlantic Ocean meets the Arctic Ocean. You'll get to experience the midnight sun, where the sun never sets. You'll cruise along the most scenic coastal route in the world aboard one of the Havala's brand new eco-friendly ships. So they glide almost silently through the fjords using battery power. So absolutely fantastic option. You'll also visit the coolest hotel in the world and enjoy a guided tour of the Kirkenes Snow Hotel with beautifully decorated snow suites and exquisite ice sculptures. You'll also get to meet the reindeer and the huskies that live close to the hotel. I just think this is a fabulous, wonderful new tour, and it brings in that rail element as well. Now, we offer a multitude of rail holidays, and they're all featured within our main brochures. So we've got the worldwide brochure out at the moment for 21 and 22, and there's a new edition 2022 just making its way into launch. So all the tours are featured there. Miles Morgan can order these brochures to be delivered to you direct at home if you can't get into branch to collect them. But I do know, having been out on the road visiting the Miles Morgan shops over the last 2 weeks, they do have stocks in branch if you want to pop along and pick those up. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and go back to being me. Miles, are you there still?
Oh, yes, I'm still here. Don't you worry. I've got some tricky questions for you as well.
Oh, I knew you would have. I'll do my best.
I would encourage everybody that's on this Zoom, if you have any questions whatsoever, a lot of you have done this before, tap your screen, you can put a question into the chat facility, and I'm more than happy to put any of those questions to Michelle. So things she might not have covered during the presentation, things she has covered in the presentation, you want more details on, anything, please ask away. I personally would like to hear a bit more from you about your experiences on that amazing South American trip you did.
Oh, honestly, I could probably talk for the next 3 hours if you get me going. So tell me to shut up when you've had enough.
I just love it when people talk about where you've actually been and what you saw and why it was a wow or not a wow or whatever it was really.
I've got to say, I did this as a work trip. So I didn't book this as a holiday, but Peru has always been on the list. So I was obsessed from primary school level with the Incas. We'd done a big project on that, and I always wanted to see that. So when this trip came up, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go. But I didn't know enough about the area. I didn't really know what I was going to. And I'm quite embarrassed to say that, being a travel professional. But it wasn't an area that I'd sold massively back when I was a travel agent. So everything about it was a wow. I knew what to expect in Lima. I knew about Cusco and the Inca capital. And I knew about Machu Picchu. But actually, it was everything else that came with it. The train ride was just spectacular because you really do go through so many different countrysides, and I wasn't expecting it to be as lush and green and forest-like with rivers running along the train as it was. The experience on the train itself was amazing. The cuisine was fantastic. The standard service, cleanliness, everything was out of this world. But for me, it was the people and the fact that on the train, not only have you got the tourists, but you've got locals as well, and you can enjoy that sort of mix with people was really lovely. The Peruvian people really were the highlight of this trip. They were amazing. And I think with lots of destinations around the world, you see traditional dress and you kind of know they've put it on for the tourists. When you're out and about in Peru, it's how they dress. So you go to the markets and they really are in these beautiful, vibrant woolen colours, and llamas are walking just about everywhere you can go. And you go and visit the guinea pig houses, which are just the most bonkers thing I think I've ever seen in my life. So you've got people that live in these tiny little houses, they're all one room. And you've got sort of the cooking area over here and the beds over there, but everything's built off the ground because running at ground level is about 60 guinea pigs because they breed them. So it's just amazing. There were so many highlights to this trip. I loved it. Highlight for me was the food. I thought the Peruvian food was one of the most spectacular I've eaten anywhere in the world. And I have food allergies and I have issues with all sorts of things, but the food there really blew me away.
You see, that will be one of the things I would immediately think, oh, food, what's that going to be like? So talk us through an evening meal. What sort of thing would you have?
Oh, so the steak is amazing. They do this, I can't think what it's called now. You put me on the spot. So they do this lovely steak dish. It's like steak and tomatoes. And I'm not a tomato fan, but actually it was amazing. So it's steak, onions, tomatoes together, and the salads. And then you've got the fish. What's this? Oh, help me out, Miles. What's it called? The
I don't know.
Oh, it's like a raw fish and it's cooked in lime juices. It's amazing. The word's gone. It'll come back to me in a minute. And it's the most popular sort of Brazilian, Peruvian, South American dish. And I ate that loads and loads and loads. What I loved about the cities in Peru is there's a whole variety. So if you have got people that are like, I only like Western food, that's fine, you can eat that. And actually the Peruvian food had quite a Western twist to it anyway. So there was a lot of steak, lots of really good vegetarian stuff. There was a couple of vegetarians on our tour, and they all ate beautifully. So food would not be a considered factor for me on this tour. I'm allergic to cheese. I'm allergic to mayonnaise. I don't eat shellfish. So there's lots of little things that can often cause me problems, certainly on the sort of European type destinations. None of those concerns in Peru.
So it sounds like you've got a bit of everything. You've got Western food as well as local stuff, which I guess is what everybody wants to mix.
As much as I hated it when we were in Cusco, there was a KFC and there was a Pizza Hut. I didn't go there, I've got to say, but they were there in the corner.
No, it's not really what you expect in Cusco, really, is it? No.
The most beautiful square with the most amazing, spectacular cathedral overlooking it. And you've got all these beautiful bars and restaurants. It's very hub. It almost reminded me of some of the sort of if you travelled to Spain back in the 90s, you had the more traditional sort of market squares. It was very much like that. But as I say, you had the Western influence was there.
I mean, question from Sue. Very good question. How easy was it to cope with the altitude? That's a great question.
Again, this was something that really worried me. So I'm asthmatic, and I was really concerned. I went to the doctor. I paid for a private prescription of Diamox, which is an anti-sickness altitude thing. Didn't need it. Wasted my money. There was a real mix on our group of both ages and, without sounding horrible, I would say fitness and weight levels. So we had a gentleman who was heavily overweight, sort of late 40s, 50s. We had a lady who was approaching 70 who smoked like a chimney. She was smoking 40 a day, even in Peru at altitude. We had a young girl that came from one of our offices. Now this was she was an Instagram influencer, fit body, gym bunny type person. So we kind of prejudged on the plane who was going to have issues with altitude. We were all wrong. I felt at the very highest like I maybe had a glass of wine. Do that slightly fuzzy head where you're fine, you know exactly what you're doing. I certainly would notice walking uphill that I was having to breathe heavier, but it wasn't a problem. The very overweight gentleman didn't notice a thing. The heavy smoker older lady didn't notice the thing. The gym bunny young girl got off the coach on day one and sat down. She just couldn't cope with it. But within an hour, she was absolutely fine. Not one of our group of 24 needed oxygen, although it's available in all the hotels. So most of the hotels have their own oxygen canisters for anybody that does have problems, but I didn't see anybody using them throughout the trip. It was absolutely fantastic. I would say, as long as you expect to go at a slower pace, drink the tea. The matcha tea they give you at every stop, it's available on the coaches. Drink it. I don't really know what magic potion it's got in there, but it certainly helped.
Very good. I think I would echo that. I mean, having climbed Mount Kilimanjaro last year or year before now, my concern was about that. And you're right, there's a complete random nature to who's affected by it. And you can't prejudge anything at all. So I think, and the majority of people on our trip, there was only one that was significantly ill with altitude sickness. Everybody else was absolutely fine. So it certainly shouldn't put anybody off traveling.
My favourite picture that I got, and I can't show it because obviously it's this lovely lady, but we were at the highest point of altitude, which was over 5,000 metres high. And there's a lovely Peruvian flag in the background. And the picture I got of the lovely lady called Maggie was her stood there with a fag in her mouth at that altitude, quite happily smiling. So I think it's one of those things that we all worry about, but I wouldn't.
And Trevor's put a note in the group, and he's spot on with this one, is it's a bit like the tortoise and the hare. You know, you find some people set off enthusiastically at a hell of a rate and then get overtaken by the people doing a slower pace. I mean, if there's one lesson with altitude, it is go at a slow pace and everything is fine. The faster you go, the quicker you go up, the more you're affected by it. And so it shouldn't be a problem for people. Yeah, I'd like to, if I'm way, have a push for Japan. I was lucky enough to go to Japan for the Rugby World Cup a couple of years ago. And I have to say, the trains were incredible. It was one of those things I was really looking forward to doing when I went. And I can still remember waiting at the station for the bullet train to pull in. And it is quite a magic sight when you see this thing arriving. It is incredible. And probably pretty much how you'd imagine with all things Japanese, incredibly well organized. And the trains arrived to the nanosecond on time. You have a set place where you get on the train. So you stand on the platform in a certain area. There's a little queuing point. You get on, your seat is there. There's loads and loads of space on the train. And of course, you get used to it after a bit. But when the train initially pulls away, my crumbs, does it shift? It really does shift. And probably, and this is probably a plug for all things rail. I think one of the magical things is, you know, when you go very often to destinations, you go tourist bit, tourist bit, tourist bit, tourist bit, tick all the boxes and see all the iconic bits and pieces. The one thing that's wonderful about train journeys is you go through the proper country and you see everything, warts and all, what these countries are like. And I absolutely love going through Japan, seeing the Japanese countryside, you know, and the edges of the cities, what it was like. I went down to Hiroshima, which was incredible, really. Quite, I don't know what word I would use, but sobering would certainly be one of the words you would use. The museum there is quite incredible, and the history there obviously is incredibly sad. And the museum just brings all that to life in quite a scary fashion, really. But when you walk around Hiroshima, it's just a very, very special place. Tokyo, I thought, was fabulous as well. It's good that I still have a box to tick, because I didn't go in the cherry blossom season, which I would love to go back and do again, because I think Japan is one of those destinations I've been. I thought that might be it. Well, Japan, tick, box, done. But actually, no, I'd like to go back again, and I'd like to see more, and I'd like to see the cherry blossom as well. And like I say, a holiday by rail just gives you so much more of a authentic experience, Michelle, I would say, because you see the proper country, whereas, you know, so often you don't. You just go, you know, iconic place, and you don't have a chance to enjoy the rest of it.
You see, that's what I would say with the escorting touring in general. Absolutely. Now, obviously, when we're doing routes, you do look for the best routes. When you're doing rail, you have to go with the route where the rail journey goes. So absolutely. It's quite amusing, because when I was putting this presentation together, I sent out a lovely email to our product team. So our product managers all self-curate these tours. We don't buy our tours in from anybody else. We do these all ourselves. So I sent an email out saying, doing rail presentation, has anybody got any rail journeys you'd like me to feature, trains? Normally when I put requests out to product teams, it can take a little while. They're very busy people. Within 3 days, I was inundated and was having to pick bits. And then I went back and said, I'd like some videos of these train journeys, because I think we can talk about trains, but actually if you can see it, it's so much better. And again, I got a few. Phil, who does our Japan tour, said, I don't have a train video of the bullet train. He said, but let me see what I can do. Unfortunately, it only landed last night, but they actually went on board the train and filmed it for me. And exactly as you've just been saying, Miles, somebody from Japan on the bullet train staff went out with their mobile phone and filmed the train arriving, getting on board, and it taking off. And they filmed all the way down to one station. So it was just too long for me to get in and get into the presentation this morning, unfortunately. But I was just sat there blown away by watching it, and then the preciseness, because he had his spot to stand on and then getting on board, but it just looked amazing. It's definitely one on my list.
I mean, I'm not a train spotting anorak in any way, shape or form, but it was amazing, you know, seeing this train coming. Oh wow, it's a bullet train, and I really just felt quite inside, like, oh wow, this is a special moment. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and the whole train experience was magical there. I really enjoyed it.
Well, I know Mandy did the Switzerland one as well.
Yeah,
loved
she did.
It. Same reason.
She did do the Switzerland train, and she came back full of it from that. Thought it was amazing. Few questions on people booking. So if people are booking today, we're obviously currently, hopefully not for too much longer, living in COVID world. If people book for something maybe for later on this year and COVID stipulations dictate they can't travel, what is Titan's policy around that sort of thing?
Okay, so booking today, you'd pay a £49 deposit per person. There's a couple of tours like the RAV that has a higher deposit, but majority of our tours, £49 deposit. We will only ask for the balance due. So normally that's 75 days before travel. We've been relaxing that until we've made decisions on travel dates. So I think the June departures, we didn't ask for payment until the beginning of May. And then we only asked for payments on tours we knew we were going to travel, like the UK stuff. So we've been quite flexible on that. If at the time that we say to you, yes, your balance is due, we want you to go ahead and pay now, that's likely to be within that 75-day window. The customers, if they're really unhappy with the destination at that point, we're still giving them the option to amend or cancel at that point. So yeah, really flexible.
Yeah, so full flexibility, because that's what everybody's looking for. You know, at the moment, it will change, but at the moment, nobody wants to feel kind of locked into a destination where, oh no, I don't feel comfortable going. So you're saying if that's the case, people can change.
Right up until 75 days, or that we ask for your deposit, we are saying you can amend as many times as you like to any tour that you like. Now, if the new tour is more expensive, you'll pay that difference, but we're not going to charge you any admin fee to do so. So we had one gentleman that was due to go on an Australia trip, and obviously he this July, and he's rebooked 3 UK trips with that money and had a refund for the balance, because obviously there was a difference there. So we're happy to hold your money over if you kind of go, do you know what, we want to go, but we're not on that trip, and we can hold that for them as well. So we're being as flexible as we can be. But ultimately, if your customers say up to 75 days before travel, do you know what, I want my money back, I'm cancelling, that's okay. We'll do that, and we'll refund no quibble on it.
Okay, that's great. So I don't think there's any other questions, unless anybody else wants to ask a question. I mean, the crystal ball is what everybody's looking for in terms of travel at the moment. You know, I think from a personal perspective, I'm seeing potentially, we've got 2 announcements coming up. We've got the 7th of June, where more destinations will be added to that green list. We've then got the 28th of June, more destinations added again. And then Grant Shapps is looking at the protocols around testing and might well reduce some of the requirements and stuff. So I'm expecting over the July and August peak season to pretty much have a fairly extensive European flying program, potentially have America, I think, because America's going very well on both cases and vaccinations. And then at the other end of the spectrum, we've got the Australias, New Zealands, where potentially I think we're looking at 2022 before we'll be visiting those countries. So things are quietly opening up, which suits me. I don't want things rushing to open up. I want things to quietly open up and in a sustainable fashion. And the good news is that's beginning to happen. So I think we're in a position now where people can, certainly for 22, but pretty much, in my opinion, anything with confidence. And even for 21, if we cherry pick the right places, again, there's a high degree now of certainty you'll be traveling, which obviously wasn't the case at this point last year. So it's good news.
We are seeing a real influx of long haul bookings for the late part of 21, and obviously 2022, the demand is phenomenal, which is great, because obviously lots of people couldn't travel in 2020 and moved into 21, have moved subsequently into 22. But I would say from sort of September 21, sales are looking good and strong. And certainly places like Essence of Japan, the sales for that have been phenomenal, really encouraging. Cuba, strangely, had some really good sales as well. I don't know where they came from. So some really lovely ones. River Cruises particularly performed really well for us for the late part of the season in Europe as well. I think people are gaining more confidence, and especially for us, I would say our solo travellers have been some of the most resilient in terms of rebooking and keen to travel.
Very good. Well, thank you. Well, Michelle, thank you very much for your rail expertise this morning. I hope everybody enjoyed that on the Zoom this morning. If you have any interest in any of those trips you want, or any more information from Michelle, from myself, then obviously do contact your local shop. Most of you know where they are. If not, obviously they're on our website, so just get in touch, and we'd be delighted to help you out. But in the meantime, Michelle, thank you very much, and thank you everybody for joining.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.